Scenario Planner, so we're going to be updating it. Jordan, tell us more.
Absolutely. So Scenario Planner 2.0 comes with some new tools, some new features, some much anticipated functionality. So one of the biggest things of Scenario Planner that we're upgrading is the ability to be able to chain paths together. So this means that effectively, rather than just sending a train from A to B, you can now do A to B to C and then back to A. So it allows you to create more per service for your scenarios.
That is for Train Sim World 4 content, isn't it? So those are the routes that obviously we just talked about the routes. That will be specifically for those to begin with, right?
Yep, so Train Sim World 4 content, yeah, will
absolutely
be compatible, yep.
Cool. What else have we got?
So custom start time. So that means that you can now start your scenario at any point separately to your services. So you can, for example, have a scenario start at 9:30 in the morning and your player service may not start until 9:35 in the morning. So it just allows that little bit more flexibility around the start of a scenario and the start of a service.
One of the most requested features that we've seen regarding Scenario Planner is the ability to amend weather as well. Is that coming in Scenario Planner, what we're calling Scenario Planner 2.0, which is very inventive?
Yes, absolutely. So you can now set the weather for your scenario. That's custom or dynamic weather. That's done through the properties and can be changed at any point throughout the creation of your scenario as well. So you may get halfway through building your scenario and think actually clouds is better than storm. So.
Oh, that's really cool. And just in terms of customization as well, players can now do their own introductory text as well.
Absolutely. So that will show in the front end menu. So the minute you click on your scenario, you'll see a brief recap of what that will entail. And then the minute you start the scenario, you'll get that introduction at the start.
So that's quite interesting because although it seems like quite a minor feature, it does really help to set the scene of what you're trying to do. Obviously, we do that quite a lot with our own scenarios, but it means that players will be able to do that too.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we see in the last couple of years was we did it for services for that pure reason, so that you've loaded into this service, it sets the scene of what you're about to drive. So now giving you the ability to do that for your own created content is a really great addition.
Awesome. And in terms of paths, you mentioned about chain paths. Are there going to be more paths in general for Train Sim World 4 content?
Yep, so there'll be some more paths that you'll be able to configure with your gameplay, yeah.
And I think the last one that I have on my little list is portal support for AI. Is that something that we're looking to implement with Train Sim World 4?
So Train Sim World 4 content is likely to have it to start with, but it means that you're able to send AI trains down into portals, meaning you can add more AI trains, more variety, create busier atmospheres.
Great. And we talk about things like timetables and scenarios, and I think we've talked a few times on different live streams, Matt, about being able to path things to like AI trains to portals, because it means that, as I say, you can sort of have a slightly different experience. But what does that mean in practice?
So it means you're able to, as Jordan said, you can have, currently, without this ability, every train has to be on the route and go to a place on the route, and then that's it, it's stopped and it's blocking that line. With the portals, you can spawn trains out of portals from nowhere, and then they can go back into portals, and then they can come and do that again and again and again and again. So it means that for your run along the East Coast Main Line, for example, let's say you've got a nice short run, you're doing your own scenario with a class 101 up the East Coast Main Line. That's just going to take a while. You can now have 100, lots of AI trains coming in the other direction, spawning from portals and going into portals without being limited to where you can start and end AI trains as they currently are. So you got a lot more freedom to add more flexibility with AI.
Brilliant. Okay. In terms of Scenario Planner 2.0 then, we've kind of whizzed through a few different features there. Of course, we will be going through these in a lot more detail over the course of the next few weeks in the build up to release. But just to kind of, I guess, get your own take on this, of those features that we've talked about, which is your favourite, Jordan?
For me, the chaining of paths, I think. So since Scenario Planner was a thing, you could literally just go from A to B. So then to be able to simulate more what happens in the real world of changing cab ends and kind of driving it back and maybe even driving it to a third different location. I think that level of variety and control is really needed.
Awesome. And Matt?
Being able to set the weather and the time of year and all of that stuff is sorely missing from the previous incarnation of the Scenario Planner. And so having access to that ability to just create the scenario with that in mind and know that everyone will be playing it with that experience that you've created
And finally, a lot of these changes have come about as a direct result of player feedback. That's right. As well,
it's almost entirely as a result of player feedback. We've been looking at what everyone's been saying, how they've been using the scenario planner, looking at the top wish lists of things people would like to see in scenario planner, and I think we've covered a fair chunk of what people have asked for here.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree as well. I'm excited by chaining paths too, Jordan. So you've got another one on that tally list. Just to quickly summarise then the changes that are coming with Scenario Planner 2.0, again very creatively named. So you will be able to change custom start times. You'll be able to change or select the weather and the time of year that you'd like to do the scenarios. You'll be able to chain paths, which is very exciting. You'll be able to have portal support for AI. You'll be able to have add introduction text to your scenario, and there will be more paths available for Train Sim World 4 content as well.